Hey guys, it's Rick. Welcome to the HDVIBE channel. If you'd like to see more tips, tricks, rides, reviews, installs on my Harley Davidson touring motorcycles, as well as information about motorcycles and the motorcycle community at large, I ask that you please hit that subscribe button. And when you do subscribe, please leave a comment down below saying I subscribe so I can personally reach out and thank you for supporting the channel. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon and select all so that you do get notified every time I do put out new content. So today I am out on the 2021 Road Glide Special. I've now had it for I think about 2 months. I've only really been able to ride it for maybe about the last 6 weeks or so out of that 2 months. I've put about 1,200 miles on it, and what I'd like to do is give you my impressions in terms of the good, the bad, and the ugly associated with this bike. And we'll get into it right after this. So let's start with the ugly. There's not really too much ugly on this bike. You know, the one ugly thing that I would say that's on this bike is that whip antenna. I mean, you'll find that on the Street Glide Specials. That single whip antenna in the back, I just don't like them. And I hid that antenna. I put out a video, and I will have a link to that video. It was a pretty popular video, and it gives you a little bit of a tip that I don't think you'll find others have shown. But to hide that antenna, keep it on there so you can still operate your radio in some respect. So the other aspect that, you know, some people might say is ugly with these Road Glides is honestly the fixed fairing. It gets into the whole debate of bat wing versus the shark nose fairing, and you know, obviously I bought this bike with the shark nose. I still have the bat wing, and I have the Road King Special that obviously doesn't have any fairing. So, you know, it is, you know, from a looks perspective, it is obviously different. It's a little bit, it's not the traditional Harley look, I guess, but obviously the fixed fairing and the Road Glides are becoming more and more popular. You'll see more and more of them on the showroom floors of the dealerships. So again, you know, I don't think it's super ugly. I'm getting used to it. It is different. So let's talk about maybe some of the bad before we get into the good. So on the bad side, there's just a few things. The first thing I'll start off with is the windshield. The stock windshield, I rode about 400 miles with it, and it wasn't terrible, but it didn't give me a whole lot of wind protection. And you know, Memphis Shades was kind enough to send out a couple of windshields to me that I'm going to actually review in a future video. But since those came in, I've been running the Memphis Shades Spoiler 5.5, which I have on right now. Great wind protection. It actually sits a little bit lower than the stock windshield, but gives me better wind protection. I also have a 6.5, which I'll try out for more, maybe if I'm going on a longer strip of highway. The other thing, kind of in the bad, or maybe the neutral category on this bike, would be the seat. I'm just not a fan of the stock seats anymore, since I've gotten maybe accustomed to or really liking the Saddleman seat. So I actually put a Saddleman Slim, I think it's RP, on this bike. I purchased that seat. I'm really liking the Saddleman seats with the gel core technology, and that's what I put on this bike. I rode it, like I said, on that same strip where I had the stock windshield on. I changed the seat over right away, and it was quite comfortable right out of the box. It probably did take a little bit more breaking in than the Road Sofa or the San Diego Customs that I have on the Road King Special, but all three of those seats I could switch between the bikes, so you know, it's awesome. They're all touring bikes. The other thing I'll mention is the exhaust. Not great, not terrible. I have switched the exhaust on this bike to the Cobra Race Pro. It's a little more tame than the Neighbor Haters that I have on the Road King Special. Obviously, I haven't done a stage 1 on this because it's still under warranty. But I'll give you a little listen to these here. Let's see. Hopefully the microphone is picking that up, but they are a little deeper. They're not as aggressive. They're not as barky, I would say. But I like these a lot better than the stock. You know, suspension. I've been riding this one up, not too up. It still hits bumps hard. This does have the shorter rear shock on it than you would get on your Ultra Limited or even your Road Glide Standard or Street Glide Standard. I think they have a 13-inch shock. This has a 12. So you don't have as much travel in that shock. But yeah, it's not terrible. I would say, again, kind of in a neutral category. This one might be a little bit controversial too. Is obviously this is a 21, so it does have the cable clutch. I don't know if it's a good or a bad. You know, I think from a right now it's functioning properly, but obviously it's mechanical versus the hydraulic clutch that they had up to 2020. And I think there's going to have to be some adjustment, obviously, on that cable. That cable can wear out. It's a mechanical thing versus the hydraulic fluid. So we'll see. I don't know if that's... I mean, it definitely is. From a friction zone perspective, when I'm doing slow speed skills, it's better. It grabs closer to the handlebars in terms of the friction zone. So it's good from that perspective right now. But I think long term, we'll kind of see where it is. So that's a few of the bad. I mean, again, they're not terrible. You know, it's a matter of preference on some of those, and we'll see long term. I would say they're probably more neutral, not necessarily bad, but for purposes of this video, we'll call it bad. So let's talk about a lot of the good, and I'm going to start up here with the infotainment system. So this is the 6.5 GTS. I have the 6.5 GT on the Street Glide Special, and I will say this infotainment system is night and day better than the one I have on the 2015 Street Glide Special. It boots up quicker. It has a heck of a lot more functionality, and it actually has, if I plug my phone in with a cord into the connection that's in the right-hand side pocket here, it actually has Android Auto, which I have an Android phone, and I think, I don't know, I think in the 21s you don't have to do an upgrade to get Apple CarPlay with the WIM. I forgot to mention, speaking of the WIM, this bike, the infotainment system does have Bluetooth capability, so you can connect your phone in to play music, but I can't connect my headset still. So I did order the WIM module. I did get that for free, not because it was sponsored, but because I used some of the techniques that I have in the video on how to get stuff at discounted prices or free, and I'll put a link to that video down below in the description. But I got it for free using my Harley Davidson Visa points, so that's awesome. So I'll be putting that in a future video. Another good thing, I think, on this bike is the traction control, which is right here on this left hand grip. It's designated by the TC, so it gives you traction control. You can change it to, you have it normal mode when you boot it up or start the bike up. You have rain mode, which if you hit it once will go into rain mode, and then actually if you push it in and hold it, you can actually turn the traction control off. I've not done that, but I will say the rain mode does work well. I had to use it a couple of weeks ago when we were out on a group ride, and the roads were just kind of at that early stage of just started raining, the oils were coming out, it was slick, and I could tell the bike was sort of governing itself down when I was going around corners, which was a little of an odd situation or sensation. I also had the bike sort of slow itself down. I was out on a ride, and I kind of was going to see what it was doing in terms of getting through the gears, and my back end started to break loose on it, and the bike adjusted itself and uprighted it. So I think it is a good feature. It also will control your braking as you're going through curves, which is a nice feature. It's almost like anti-lock braking around your curves, so that if you are putting too much brake on a curve, which typically you don't really want to put brake on going into the curve. You want to kind of set up going into that curve and then kind of come through and power through, push and roll on that throttle as you're going through. But if you happen to get squirrely, and it will help you adjust. I mean, it does have hill assist too, so if you are parked on a hill and you're stopped, you can kind of prompt on that rear brake and it will actually lock the bike in. It's not brakes, but there'll be a little light that shows up on your gear, and I think it says either traction control or hill assist HA or something like that. I actually just figured out how to use it the other day, which is a nice feature as well. And it does have the anti-lock brakes, the linked anti-lock brakes, just like many of the specials from, you know, I think even the standards now have it, which is really good. Obviously, it, you know, if you put one on and you're over 25 miles an hour, it will apply pressure automatically, so you're not doing that yourself. Obviously, if you're braking, you should use both brakes. But if you drop down below, I think 20 miles an hour, it will actually let you use the brakes independently. So if you are doing slow speed skills, you can drag the rear brake, or, you know, if you want to do a little trail braking with your front brake going into curves, you can do that as well. So I think a good safety feature on this bike. And I think last but not least is really the 114 engine on this thing. It has plenty of power right out of the gate. I've done a stage 1 on the Road King Special, and you can tell a difference between that bike and the 114 on this bike, still at stock settings with no tune, and still having the catalytic converter header on this thing. But, you know, from a torque perspective and a power perspective, this thing runs very well. I've ridden the 117s on the Road Glide STs that made at Harley Davidson, and I have the comparison videos. I'll put links to that in the description as well if you want to find out a little bit more about that and see those comparisons. But I mean, this 114 for me is quite good. You know, and I think at the end of the day, for me, what ultimately sold me on this bike and why I got a 2021, and you can kind of, I've talked about that in the reveal video, which I'll put a link to that as well, but is this paint set. You know, the camera is probably not picking up much of it right now, but in other videos you've probably seen it. It is the billiard red and the vivid black with the Harley Davidson words, lettering going across both of the bags. To me, it's just a classic looking bike. I really like it, the color, and that's why I went with a 2021 versus a 2022. And I did save a bunch of money too by buying a 21, still under warranty, but I saved some money. You know, obviously I had a few miles, somebody else rode it. Some people aren't comfortable with that, so you get a brand new one. But anyway, you know, a lot of good. Those of you who are out there that are considering a Road Glide, I hope this helps. Those of you who may already have a Road Glide Special, Road Glide ST, put some comments down below telling me, you know, kind of your thoughts on kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly with these bikes. And then, you know, we're probably going to have the Batwing fairing people. I mean, obviously my channel covers the gamut, since I do have Batwing as well as the fixed fairing, so I'm sure we'll get a little weigh-in from the fixed fairing or the Batwing fairing folks on this video, which is cool. Always like a good healthy debate on these items. So, and if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because it really does help out the channel. The channel is growing, and I appreciate everyone who watches these videos, has subscribed. But if you do watch the videos and haven't subscribed yet, I ask that you just hit that little subscribe button and become a full-fledged subscriber, and hit that bell icon so that you get notified every time the new content comes out. So with that, I want to leave you with this. Life is short. Get out and ride the bike. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you on the next one. Bye now.